Welcome to the Essential IT Skills Level 2 Spreadsheet Software tutorial. The object of this tutorial is to show you and guide you through some of the functions that the assessment expect you to do to meet the grade to pass this module. The credit value for this module is 4, so if you pass this section you will add another further 4 credits to the total you have so far during this course. One of the things that you need to be aware of firstly is that you need to make sure that if you are doing this course via Vision to Learn, that you've downloaded all the correct resources from the Vision to Learn website. If you're doing this course via OCR, then you need to speak to your tutor to make sure that you are aware of where the resources are on your own networks so you can complete this assessment. You can complete this assessment either while you're at school, or you can actually do it when you're at home. Again, if you're using Vision to Learn for this course, then you can access everything via the Vision to Learn website. If you're doing it via the OCR, then you need to make sure that you have all the resources and access to any other information on a pen drive or an external drive that you can plug in to various PCs either at school or at home. Okay, so let's get some of the very basic issues out the way before we start. One of the things I found being a tutor on this kind of course is that some of the students need to make sure that we get some very basic stuff set up first. If you can see on your screen here is the assessment for this module here, Spreadsheet Software Level 2, and it says at the top, look, how many credit values you are getting. In this case it's via the Vision to Learn website. One of the things that you need to make sure that is this first box, page 1 at the top, alright, that you actually fill in your full name. That's your first name and your surname, not just Bob, Harry, George, Shirley, Barbara or whoever. So can we please make sure that you actually fill in your first name on this column here. That's your first and last name. Okay, once we've done that, we then need to make sure and spend a bit of time on this. Don't rush this bit. Make sure that you read and this is the important part, understand what you need to do by scrolling through it, having a look at what you need to do, and just making sure, yep, okay, we need to do that, I need to do this, and anything else you're not sure of, then either ask or re-watch this video. Okay, once you've done that, then you can start, and again it walks you through everything you need to do. We come down here, here's the scenario for this one. You work in a newsagent shop, your boss has asked you to analyse the sales of chocolate bars using a spreadsheet, and you'll be using Excel for this module. There are other software products that can be used, but you will be using Excel. And your first task is to create a spreadsheet with the following data on, this data on here. Alright, once you've done that, then we can just move down and we need to add a few more columns that it says there. So let me just get this out of the way onto another screen, and you should have end up with something like this. Before we go any further, just to let you know, I'm using Excel 2013 to record this. You will possibly be using a prior version of Excel, probably Excel 2010, or if you're watching this after I recorded this, and I'm recording this in March 2014, you might be using a newer version of Excel. The functionality of either all versions or either versions are exactly the same. We have ribbons at the top and a spreadsheet within a workbook here. The processes I'm going to show you apply to any version of Excel. So let's move on then. We now need to add 2 more columns, and it's very simple to add the 2 columns here, but here I'm just going to click on 2 I've created earlier, and you should end up with your total sales on there. Now once we've done that, reading through your assessment, we need to do some kind of data sorting on this. Alright, so we need to sort the data. That means putting the data in some kind of order. In the case of us, and if I look on the here, we need to sort the function, use the sort function to sort the spreadsheet by shelf location. Very simple to do. All we need to do is click and highlight our data, come up to the data sort, and this time we need to sort on shelf location. It's a value because there's a number in there, and we'll go smallest to largest, and we're going to click OK. And now we've sorted by shelf location, and we have 1 at the top and we have 3 at the bottom. So very simple, that one. Next thing we have to do is we have to create a line graph, okay, that compares our sales of chocolate bars in January and February. Now here's what I call a power shortcut, power tip for power users of Excel. These are tips that the average user doesn't know, not are used to, but IT people and power users of Excel, people who've been using it for a long time, will know these. It's making life very, very simple. Okay, so we're going to produce a line graph that's going to look at the sales of our chocolate bars over January and February. First thing we're going to do is we're going to select all our data, and normally you'll come up to insert, and we'd insert all this here. We'll go through the pivot chart or different tables here, charts, and it'll appear over here, and it ends up in a bit of a mess, to be honest. But what we're going to do is just hit the F11 key, and it produces a standard bar chart already on a new sheet for us. It's full size, full sheet view, looks fantastic. Now, tip here, bearing in mind that the default function of the F11 create a chart key is to create a vertical bar graph. Now you can change what Excel creates when you press F11, but that is very advanced and way beyond the scope of this course. So what we need to do then is we need to actually change this from a bar chart into a line chart, and also making sure we only select the sales for January and February. We've got all sorts here represented at the bottom. We've got price per unit, we've got shelf locations, January and February sales. We only need the January and February sales. So the first thing we can do is to come up to the select data, and we can untick the data we do not need to see. So for example, we don't need to see the prices, we don't need to see the shelf locations. We need to see all our products, and click OK, and now we're down to what we need to see. So once we've got our data down to what we want, our next thing then is to actually change the chart type. We need to create a line chart. There's a lot of different kinds of charts in Excel, but we need to select a line chart. There's different types of line charts. Okay, if you select the wrong type of line chart, then your data looks totally wrong. So we need to make sure that the chart type is the correct chart type for displaying the data that we need. So we're going back to it again then, change chart type, and we're going to select that one, and there we go. So that's now created a line chart for us, which is brilliant. And now we need to go, you need to save that, and again I'm not going to show you how to do some basic stuff. Make sure you do save it in the right area. And while we're on the point of that, can we just make sure also that we have all our work in order? Okay, so we can create a folder in your document called V2L or OCR, depending on your course, and then create some subfolders in that. So Excel, word processing, presentation, etc., etc. And in the subfolders, you're going to store all the relevant information that you should have downloaded or been given to by your tutor. Okay, so once we've got that, we then need to do some work on our spreadsheet again. So we're going to go to sheet 1. And it now asks us to do something else. We need to add 2 more columns. The first column we should add is the total sales for all our chocolate bars. And once we've done that, we're going to add another column called reorder, and we're going to do some function in that column. So the first thing we need to do is add our total sales column. Well, we need to give it a column heading, so we call it total sales. And then we're going to add up our sales for January and February for each of our chocolate bars. How do we do that? Very simple. Make sure we're in the right cell. We're going to press equals first. That tells Excel that what's to follow is either going to be a formula or a function. In this case, the formula we want to use is sum. So type in SUM. Excel's quite clever because it will then list all the functions and formulas it knows that begins with the letters SUM. So we need the first one, which is sum, and we double click that, and it starts the process off for us. And it needs at least 2 numbers to add together. Well, in our case, our 2 numbers are the sales in January and the sales in February. Once we've done that, we can close the brackets and press enter, and it adds it up for us. Okay, now we need to do the same for the rest of our bars. We don't have to keep doing that. We can then fill our column with the formula, go into the fill handle, which is the little black dot here on the right hand corner, put our cursor over it until it changes to a black cross, like so, hold our left button down and just drag it down, and it will populate all those for us. In this version you'll see we're getting an error, but we can just ignore the error and it goes away. So once we've done our total sales, the next thing we need to do now is to put a reorder column in, and that's quite simple. So we're going to type it called reorder. Now in this column, what we need to do is we need to say, well, if our sales is greater than 100, we're going to put yes in that cell. If it's less than 100, we're going to type in no. How do we do that? Very simply, we use a statement called the if statement, and again it's a function within Excel, so we should all know by now that we just press the equal sign to say that it's a function, and we're going to type in if, and it finds all the ones with if. Double click that. First thing we need to do is the logical test. Now we need to test the figure in this cell and to see if it's greater or less than 100. So if the figure in that cell is greater, that's the sign, so that is on your keyboard, than 100, you'll notice here we still highlighted on the first part of this function. Now if I just hit the comma, it moves over here, look, to the second part of the function. So if that value is true, what do we say? Well, or do. In our case, we're just going to type in yes. If they're words, you put them in between double quotes. So that's if it's true. Now we're still highlighted on true, so comma again, and it now moves across to the false value. And if that is not true, then in other words, if it's less than 100, we're just going to type in no. And because that's all we need to do, you don't have to finish off with the bracket and just press enter, and because this number is greater than 100, it types in yes. Now we're going to do exactly the same as we did with this column. We don't have to keep writing all the statements in. We're just going to click, go to our fill handle here, change to a black cross, and just drag it down. And that's it. Now just make sure that you actually save your spreadsheet to where it says on the assessment, and we're going to move on to the next bit. On this next bit we need to open up a different spreadsheet, and it's your shop data spreadsheet that you've done, and I'm just going to take some of this out so we know it's where it should be, so you see where it is from that. Now once we've done all this, we need to do certain things on this spreadsheet, and again it's just checking that you can manipulate the data in a spreadsheet. We're going to use three things. One of these functions you've used before in the other spreadsheet, and it's called the sum function. Another function we're going to use is what's called the max function, which you haven't used yet, and I'm going to show you that. And the final function we're going to use on this is a function called 3D reference, and it's a bit more complicated, but I'm just going to show you how that works. And once we've done that, and I think you've virtually done everything in this module. So let's get started then. So in this one, what we need to do is calculate the total number of sales for shop 2 in February. So across the top bottom here we've got 3 tabs. We select shop 2. I'll do that for a minute. And we need the total sales of our chocolate bars for February. Well, we can just place it into there. Okay, we're going to use the sum function for this one. Very simple. We just need to add this column of sales for February together. Now I've shown you a way previously of we can equals sum, collect sum, etc. That's one way. I'm going to now show you another quick way from here. If you come across to the top right hand side of the ribbon on the home tab here, we've got Autosum. Just click that. It then puts these marching ants around what it's already intelligently thought of is what you want to add together. So Excel is quite intelligent. It will work out the numbers, and if you'll notice, because February is in letters, it hasn't included that. If you're happy with that, just press the enter key and it does the calculation for you. So that's the first function used, sum. We're going to move on to the next one. Identify the most popular chocolate bar for shop 1 in January. We move to shop 1. So now we need to find out what's the most popular chocolate bar in shop 1 in January. So this time, instead of coming to here and adding these together, we need to find which is the biggest number. Now the biggest number is obviously the most sales. Again, this is a very, very easy way of doing this, and I'll show you the quick way up here. Come to the Autosum here, and there's a down arrow. Click that and select max, the maximum number in the column. Again, it's put these marching ants around the outside, and press enter, and it's 108. So the most popular bar in January is Snickers. So 108 doesn't tell us a lot really, does it? Just tell us 108. Here is hot tip for power users number 2. Sometimes we can put on here, most people just type in there, okay, popular bar is Snickers, and you can play around with it and do anything like that, and it becomes really, really terrible. So what we can do, and I'll just put the Autosum back in again and do the max on that. I'm going to show you power tip number 2. Highlight the number, and you can do this in any number. Come across to here and click more number formats. Click custom and select the 0 because it's a whole number, it's an integer. In here type, click in it, put a space. There's a space between the number and the letters. Okay, and we're going to put in double quotes Snickers and press OK. Okay, 108 Snickers, and that's the answer for that one. Okay, so that's 2 of the 3 done. The final one we need to do on this one is this 3D reference. This is quite simple when you know it, but there's a lot of things to make sure that's set up before you do this function. Otherwise it will not work. Now what we need to do in this case is calculate the total number of Mars bars sold by all shops. So we need to figure out the total sold in shop 1 with shop 2 with shop 3. Now the first things we must make sure that all our data on all the tabs are in the same format. So for example, in shop 1 we got Mars Dairy Milk Double Decker, in shop 2 we got Double Decker Caramel Mars, and in shop 3 we got Mars, etc. So they're not the same, and this 3D referencing will not work. So let's sort them so we're all the same, and again we know how to sort now. Yeah, so let's just check our data and do data sort. Make sure our data has headers. I'm going to sort by chocolate bar A to Z. Okay, caramel, and we do the same to make sure that it's all the same. Sort header, we're going to find we need to make sure that we're going to sort by column A because it's got no header in it. On this one, A to Z, job done. And then on to 3, and we're going to select our data, sort this day by chocolate bar A to Z, like so. Okay, so all our data is exactly in the same format. Okay, I'm just going to pop in chocolate bar back into there just so it's the same. Doesn't really affect this issue. Okay, once we've done that and we're happy our data's the same, we're going to select any cell. I'm going to select a cell here, and we're going to add up all our Mars bars sold by all our shops using a 3D reference. Well, it's a function, and all we need to do is press equal sign. So we're going to add them all together, so we know add in Excel speak is sum. We found sum, and we just click that, and it started the process for us. Okay, so here we go. Once we've got that far, we come down to our tabs. We've got one of the tabs already selected because we're working on shop 3. We hold our shift key down and select the last tab, shop 1, and you'll notice it starts to put them into the function. And then we want to do is to select all the row that we want to add up. So we want to select all this row all the way across, and then once we've done that we press enter, and the answer is the total Mars bars sold is 1687, and that's as simple as that. And you just need to make sure that you write those and on your assessment. There's a few other things you have to do which I think really doesn't need a tutorial on. You have to make sure you format a few columns and a few rows. You've got to make sure that you change some colors of some text here. Okay, so you know it's quite simple just to come, and we're going to change some colors, and we've got to change the text to certain colors, okay, or whatever. Alright, so we need to make sure we apply those formatting as per the assessment. Alright, the final part of your assessment is how do you check data and how do you make sure it's right. For example, what would you do if you saw those? Okay, how do you check for errors, and your tutor will help you with that, the wording of that if you're struggling with the wording, because the tutors are aware of the information that you need to write in that. So if you've got this here, for example, okay, nothing wrong, it's just that the data in these columns is too big for the width of the column, and all we do is come to the column boundary there till I get my double arrows and just double click it, and it comes back out. So that's it for this one. It's gone on for 25 minutes, so hopefully you found this helpful. Rerun this whenever you like. Drop me an email if you think you needed things adding, or you think it would benefit, what else would benefit other students coming after you on these tutorial videos. If you find this benefit, then please send me some feedback on this, whether it's good, bad or indifferent, and I will produce this tutorial videos for every module within this course. So best of luck. It shouldn't take you long to fill this out, to be quite honest. Once you've done that, get your tutor to check through it, make sure you're happy with it, make sure your tutor's happy with it before you send it away. Okay, thanks for watching and thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.